Hola a todos y bienvenidos una vez más a Lili Sin Barreras, nuestro pulso. No tan solo nos gusta entrevistar a aquellos que hablan nuestro lenguaje, pero a aquellos que nos están representando y no hablan necesariamente nuestro lenguaje, o a lo mejor hablan y no nos dicen nada. Pero es bien importante para mí que sepamos que este año, más que nunca, estamos corriendo para la democracia. Y queremos saber quién nos está apoyando. So, como mujeres nos interesa muchísimo, yo sé que usted en su casa también, representante Geoff. Luxenberg. How are you?
Good. How are you?
We are happy to have you here. I was just saying you're doing a lot of great work and we don't get to put it on camera as much.
Thank you.
But we need
Nice
to thank the people who are actually doing the job, which is not you, which is your wife, Jessica,
Yes.
and your kids, Mac, Samira, and Zoe, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. The family members of candidates for office and people who serve in public service jobs have to sacrifice quite a bit in terms of time and all sorts of things that pop up that are extraordinary in terms of what other families have to manage. And so I'm definitely grateful, especially for my wife Jessica, for letting me do this work. It's not easy, but it's helpful because she believes in what I'm doing too and shares my values. So that makes it a little easier, but it's still quite a sacrifice.
It is a sacrifice, and we're so honored that you choose to sacrifice yourself, which is so important for us, because most of us don't want to do that job, but we know it's vital. Now, you have soft spots, and you work in finances. I mean, you're watching the money, a lot of the money.
Yeah.
You have a soft spot for housing, elderly.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that. We know that in the state of Connecticut, housing continues to be a huge challenge. Salaries, we can talk about that as well, but I love the fact that you're looking for a way that we can have quality of life, which we all deserve, regardless.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I've experienced housing in a lot of different ways in my own life. I've been a renter and a homeowner. I'm a realtor, so I've helped other people buy and sell homes. I've done some real estate investing, but I also worked at a community-based nonprofit called Hands on Hartford for 3 years. And in that role, we worked a lot with people who were experiencing homelessness or housing insecurity. And so I've kind of, through different ways, gotten to experience housing from every possible angle. Mm-hmm. And I try to bring that knowledge and experience to the state capitol to try to deal with this housing crisis that we're facing. The costs of rents have gone up exponentially. It has become very, very hard to purchase a first home for a lot of people. And so we're trying to bring some creative solutions to some really complex problems. I'm thrilled that Kamala Harris actually has a plan to deal with our housing crisis nationwide. But in Connecticut, we experience it worse than some of the other parts of the country because our land cost is so high and because we have such a low vacancy rate. So what we really need to do is just rapidly build more housing, including deed-restricted affordable housing, so that we don't have this supply-demand imbalance that is just driving the costs up faster than people's wages are going up. So that's one thing we're really focused on. But I also think sometimes politicians are guilty of just looking at the same old solutions and talking points and not thinking creatively. So what I've proposed...
Thank you.
Yeah, it's true. But so what I've proposed is to get creative, which is we have something called the health savings account across the country. People put money into a special account, and if they use it for healthcare expenses, they don't pay taxes on that money in the health savings account. I think we need the same thing for rent. So I've proposed a rental savings account where if you're working hard, you're playing by the rules, you're trying to pay your rent, but it's hard to keep up with these rent prices. I mean, we can build more housing, that's going to solve the problem long term. Right. But what about so many people in Connecticut and Manchester who are hurting with brutal rent increases right now? We got to provide them relief. And so I think a rental savings account modeled after the health savings account nationally, where you put money into an account, you agree that money is going to go towards either renting, and it could even be or towards saving for a down payment for a purchase, either one. But you put money aside in that account, and then that money is not taxed when you go to do your state taxes. So those are the kinds of ideas that I think we need to bring to the table. And we also have to be willing to reach across the aisle and try to work with folks who maybe don't agree with us on everything, but to try to just deliver something, because people are really hurting.
I love that. Y ustedes todos saben que a mí me preocupa mucho la vivienda. So that's always been a thing that we work on. I like Hands on Hartford a lot. We do have a collaboration. We work closely.
Yeah.
So that makes perfect sense. This year, it's a year that most of us are extremely concerned about what democracy stands for.
Sure.
And so as women, we've been generation attacked. But I feel like this election, okay, has been, again, 1930, 1940 for us as women. Now, you are a father.
Yeah.
How do you look at how women are being treated? Latina women are being treated as third citizens. Forget second-class citizen.
Yeah. Well, so it's really personal for me as a father to two daughters. One thing that's complex in my life is that I have a white daughter and I have a biracial daughter. And so I've experienced in my own life sort of a direct lens as to how sometimes racism and xenophobia and sexism, frankly, as well, are persistent in our society. And it doesn't help when one major party candidate running for president, Donald Trump, plays into people's worst instincts and stokes those fears, and has really, in a horrible way, normalized demeaning people. In Connecticut, we saw some of the danger coming at us from the federal government and Donald Trump. It's why we protected a woman's right to choose in Connecticut. In advance of the overturning of Roe versus Wade, so that women will always be protected in Connecticut in terms of the right to choose. We've also worked to make Connecticut a safe haven for women who are coming from other states where their rights have been stripped away. They can come to Connecticut and know that they can get health care in Connecticut without being penalized or criminalized. So we've been leading on these issues, but we have to win this presidential election, because Donald Trump is, it's any question he gets asked, he deflects to, he answers about immigrants and migrant crime and all this stuff. And it's all made up. It's all made up. It's all a lie to stoke fear, to turn Americans against fellow Americans, and to turn Americans against immigrants. And it's wrong. And I think the only way to stop it is to, for once and for all, beat Donald Trump at the ballot box. Just win the election.
I'm okay with
Go
that.
out and vote. And early voting in Manchester starts this Monday, 2 days from where we sit here. So that's what we're working really hard to do. We got to win the election, because that's the most powerful rejection of not just Donald Trump's xenophobic, hateful rhetoric, which dehumanizes women and immigrants, veterans, lots of other subsets of people. My people, I'm a proud Jewish American, and because of Donald Trump, anti-Semitism is through the roof. So the way to reject that is to reject him at the ballot box. We need to elect Kamala Harris and Democrats who share our values, so that we can turn the page on this ugly, ugly chapter of our American story.
And we have seen him. We have felt him, and we have been under Donald Trump. So we know exactly what he has been able to do. And right now it seems like it's more unhinged than ever. So we can't even follow the thread except for hate, discrimination, classism. You bring them in and that's it. Now, when you are reaching out to the Latino community, now you're very known. Jesse Muniz Poland loves you, and Jesse doesn't give her stamp to anybody, for those of us who know it. Where do you see women, Latina women here on your side of the world? Are they active in civil engagement, on civic engagement? Are they not active? Do you want more activity? Because I think that's what we want, more activity in the process.
Yeah, it's a great question. There is obviously a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of activity right now that I see from the community. I think because people are smart and they get what's at stake, and they're mobilized because of the threat that Donald Trump and others who agree with him pose. So I see a lot of activity. In terms of what folks care about, I think one of the mistakes that sometimes people in politics make, and even Democrats that are, I think, usually ideologically aligned, make the mistake. I think people make a mistake. They assume that these constituency groups are monolithic. They assume like, okay, I'm a Democrat, so anybody that's Hispanic or Latino or Latina is going to support me because we agree on some issues. I think that's a huge mistake. It is not a monolithic voting bloc, and so I think what Democrats need to do is actually reach out, and when you have those conversations, you find out that economic issues are really driving a lot of interest in the community. I think inflation is really hurting people, and so it's why Donald Trump's plan to make inflation even worse by having it's the only thing he has a plan for as to how to make costs go up with this Trump tariff, Trump sales tax proposal that's going to cost every person roughly $4,000 more a year on everyday goods, from TVs to food to baby formula, you name it. He wants to raise the prices. I think that's really going to harm the Latino and Latina community. It's going to harm everybody, but it's going to disproportionately harm communities that are struggling economically because the prices are going to go up immediately. So, I think obviously we always want more civic engagement from every constituency group, but I think frankly, whites need to step up and speak out clearly against Donald Trump. I mean, I think that's, and I would specifically say, and I feel I could say this, particularly white men. I mean, right now there's a gender gap in the polling where white men are disproportionately supporting Donald Trump, and that has to change. That has to change. That's a huge swath of the electorate that is wrongly, making the wrong choice, it seems. And so we have to figure out how to move that constituency group away from the fake bravado and false promises of Donald Trump.
You have made this so easy. So all of my questions are being answered by you, which makes me really happy, which makes me feel like we are in good hands and continue in good hands.
Oh, thank you.
Tell me a little bit about your love for the senior population. I mean, it's in your record. It looks like you're really concerned about the access to health, quality in housing, but there's a senior there. Love that you have going on.
I was really fortunate in my life. I had 4 grandparents involved in my life for a very long time. And even into my early adulthood, I had all 4 of them alive. They've all since passed now, but for a long time it was very unusual to have 4 grandparents involved in my life. And so, I think like a lot of us, you see how hard it is for seniors right now in terms of the cost of living. And also just adapting with how challenging the world is in terms of such rapid technological advances and some of the other challenges folks face. So we've worked really hard. We eliminated the state income tax on Social Security for most seniors, which I think is really going to make a big difference. But I think there's a lot more work to do to make it so that seniors can age in their homes and also to protect seniors. And we did pass a major bill to protect seniors at nursing homes, but I think there's more work we can do in that area. But it's personal, right? There are seniors in my life that I care about, and I want them to have the same freedom to have a wonderful, happy, dignified life as everybody else deserves. And so they deserve extra focus.
We can have every clip I want right here, right now. We have 2 minutes, but I want to give you the magic wand, which I give most people that I think I can trust with a magic wand. If you had one wish, just one wish with this magic wand, don't do what everybody tries to do, 3 and 4. No, you can only wish for one thing. As a politician, what would you wish on our communities? Only one.
Okay, that's tough. I guess if I had one wish, it would be that every person in our community had great health insurance. That's, I think, been the elusive silver bullet kind of, I mean, there's no silver bullet, but I think that's been an area that we haven't been able to achieve. We made progress. We've gotten a lot more people health insurance, and we've improved a lot of folks' health insurance, but until we get to a place where every person that lives in this country and in the state of Connecticut has amazing, high-quality health insurance, I think there's a degree to which we're not living up to our best ideals. So that's my one wish, if it has to be one.
I think there's a lot of laws in that one, so you're really, really, really smart. Very, very smart. Para todos ustedes, las caras de nuestros representantes son sumamente importantes. Lo que ellos piensan, lo que ellos desean, lo que quieren hacer por nosotros y con nosotros. Pero si su voto no llega, ellos no se quedan. And that's really, really important. Si tu voto no llega, ellos no se quedan. No es el color de nuestra piel, no es el lenguaje que hablemos. Eso en estos momentos es casi hasta secundario porque necesitamos defender nuestra democracia. Gracias, Geoff.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias.
Thank
and
you.
hopefully we'll have you on camera a lot more so people can follow your work.
Thank
a
you.
votar, a votar, a votar todo el mundo. Thank you so much.
Thank you.